Pleasure is one of the most powerful forces in human nature. It drives our decisions, shapes our desires, and influences our relationships. But what happens when the pursuit of pleasure comes with hidden sacrifices? In today's world, sexual freedom is celebrated, yet rarely do we question what we might be giving up in the process. This video will explore the hidden costs of sexual pleasure, not just physical, but also emotional, psychological, and even societal. We will uncover the trade-offs that many overlook in their pursuit of short-term gratification. By the end of this video, you may start to see sexual pleasure in a very different way. The psychology behind pleasure. From an evolutionary standpoint, sexual pleasure exists to ensure reproduction. But in the modern world, where sex is more accessible than ever, the brain's reward system often works against us. When you engage in sexual activity, whether through real-life encounters, pornography, or other forms of stimulation, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation. This rush can be intense, making sexual pleasure feel like an irresistible force. But the problem is, dopamine is addictive. Over time, repeated exposure to high levels of dopamine can desensitize the brain, meaning that what once felt exciting starts to feel normal, or even dull. This is why some people find themselves needing more extreme or frequent stimulation to experience the same level of satisfaction. But what does this mean for our mental and emotional well-being? Emotional detachment, the cost of casual sex. One of the most overlooked consequences of frequent sexual encounters, especially casual ones, is emotional detachment. Sex is not just a physical act. Biologically, it triggers the release of oxytocin, also known as the bonding hormone. This hormone creates a sense of closeness and trust between partners. However, when people engage in multiple casual encounters without emotional connection, the brain can start to suppress this bonding mechanism. Studies have shown that frequent casual sex can lead to difficulty forming deep, meaningful relationships. The more a person engages in emotionless intimacy, the harder it becomes to associate sex with love, trust, and long-term commitment. Over time, this can result in a feeling of emptiness, dissatisfaction, and even loneliness. Many individuals who indulge in casual encounters report feeling a temporary high, followed by an emotional crash. This pattern can lead to a cycle of seeking more pleasure to fill an emotional void without ever addressing the root of the problem. The illusion of freedom society promotes the idea that unrestricted sexual pleasure equals freedom. But in many cases, the pursuit of pleasure can become a form of enslavement. When pleasure seeking becomes habitual, it can start to dictate behavior in ways that reduce self-control. People who engage in excessive sexual pursuits often find themselves prioritizing short-term gratification over long-term goals, whether in their careers, relationships, or personal growth. Think about it. How often do people sacrifice their time, energy, and even self-respect for fleeting moments of pleasure? The promise of freedom can quickly turn into a self-imposed prison where desires control the person rather than the other way around. Pornography, the silent epidemic. One of the most widespread and damaging aspects of modern sexual pleasure is pornography addiction. With instant access to explicit content, many people develop unhealthy consumption habits without realizing the long-term effects. Studies have shown that excessive pornography use rewires the brain, leading to dopamine desensitization, requiring more extreme content for the same effect. reduce interest in real-life relationships because fantasy becomes more stimulating than reality. Performance anxiety and erectile dysfunction due to unrealistic expectations created by pornography. Many former addicts report that quitting pornography dramatically improves their confidence, mental clarity, and relationships. Yet millions remain trapped in a cycle of temporary highs followed by deep dissatisfaction. The impact on mental health beyond addiction, the pursuit of sexual pleasure, has been linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and dissatisfaction. This happens for several reasons. 1. The pleasure-depression cycle. After a moment of intense pleasure, the brain often experiences a drop in dopamine, leading to feelings of emptiness or sadness. 2. Unrealistic expectations. Constant stimulation from media and social influences creates impossible standards, leading to dissatisfaction with real-life relationships. 3. Guilt and regret. Many who indulge in excessive pleasure-seeking behavior later experience regret, especially if it leads to broken relationships or lost opportunities. Ironically, what starts as a pursuit of happiness often results in the exact opposite: increased loneliness and mental distress. The hidden price of indulgence. While modern society glorifies the pursuit of pleasure, few take the time to consider what they might be sacrificing in return. The cost of unchecked indulgence is not always obvious at first, but over time, it manifests in ways that can deeply affect one's mental state, relationships, and overall sense of fulfillment. One of the biggest dangers of excessive pleasure seeking is its ability to rewire the brain's reward system. The more we indulge in instant gratification, the less satisfaction we derive from long-term rewards. This effect is particularly damaging when it comes to sexual pleasure. People who frequently chase after quick sexual highs, whether through casual encounters, pornography, or other forms of stimulation, often experience a decline in their ability to enjoy simple, meaningful moments. Why? Because their brain has become accustomed to intense artificial stimulation. This can lead to a loss of appreciation for real-life intimacy, relationships, and even non-sexual achievements. But there's more at stake than just personal satisfaction. The hidden costs of this lifestyle extend into deeper psychological and even societal consequences. The weakening of discipline is the foundation of success in every area of life. Whether in business, fitness, or personal development, those who can delay gratification and focus on long-term rewards are the ones who rise above the rest. However, the more someone indulges in instant pleasure, the harder it becomes to resist temptation in other areas. Imagine two people. One consistently controls their urges, focusing their energy on improving themselves, developing skills, and building meaningful connections. 2. The other gives in to every impulse, constantly chasing fleeting highs, whether through sex, pornography, or other quick pleasures. Which of the two do you think will be more mentally sharp, emotionally stable, and in control of their life? The answer is obvious. The problem is that every time you give in to lust, you reinforce a habit of impulsivity. You train your mind to seek easy rewards instead of working towards real success. Over time, this weakens your ability to stay disciplined in other areas of life, whether it's waking up early, staying focused on goals, or maintaining meaningful relationships. History is full of examples of great men who lost everything due to their inability to control their desires. Kings, leaders, and influential figures have fallen because they prioritized pleasure over discipline. Self-control is a superpower, and those who master it gain an edge over those who are ruled by their urges. The illusion of living in the moment. Many argue that indulging in pleasure is about living in the moment, but in reality, it often leads to living in regret. People who chase after pleasure without considering the long-term effects often find themselves empty, unfulfilled, and disconnected from deeper meaning. They may enjoy temporary highs, but they also experience the inevitable lows that follow. The truth is, self-mastery leads to deeper, more lasting happiness. When you resist shallow pleasures, you open yourself up to greater achievements, deeper relationships, and a stronger sense of purpose. Instead of being controlled by fleeting desires, you gain the ability to direct your life towards something meaningful. But how can you break free from the cycle of indulgence? That's exactly what we'll explore in the next part: practical strategies for self-discipline, overcoming temptation, and regaining control over your mind and body. Reclaiming control. The path to self-mastery. By now, we've uncovered the hidden costs of indulgence, the way unchecked pleasure weakens discipline, distorts the brain's reward system, and creates a false sense of fulfillment. But simply understanding the problem isn't enough. The real challenge is breaking free from this cycle and reclaiming control over your mind and actions. So, how do you do it? How do you resist urges that feel so deeply ingrained in human nature? The answer lies in self-mastery, the ability to govern your impulses rather than be ruled by them. This isn't about suppressing desires forever. It's about redirecting your energy towards something greater, something that fuels real growth rather than momentary pleasure. Step 1. Detox your mind and body. Lust, like any addiction, thrives on repetition. The more you indulge, the more your brain craves it. The first step to regaining control is to cut off the sources of temptation and allow your brain to reset. Limit your exposure to triggers. Social media, movies, and even certain environments can fuel lustful thoughts. Reducing exposure helps break the cycle. Replace bad habits with constructive ones. Instead of wasting time on distractions, channel your energy into reading, working out, or learning new skills. Improve your physical state. Exercise, proper sleep, and a balanced diet improve discipline and lower impulsivity. A weak body often leads to a weak mind. By detoxing from artificial stimulation and distractions, you retrain your brain to find pleasure in real-life achievements rather than fleeting highs. Step 2. Strengthen your willpower. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. The key to overcoming lust is small victories that build up over time. Start with short-term challenges. Set a goal to go a week, then a month, without indulging in destructive habits. Every victory makes the next one easier. Develop mental toughness. Expose yourself to controlled discomfort, like cold showers or fasting. These strengthen your ability to resist temptation. Use accountability. Surround yourself with people who push you toward growth, not indulgence. A strong support system makes a huge difference. The more you resist temptation, the more power you gain over yourself. And the more power you have, the less control lust has over you. Step 3. Redirect your energy. Here's the truth: lust is just misdirected energy. The same drive that fuels sexual desire can be converted into motivation for success, creativity, and self-improvement. Focus on personal development, build something, start a project, master a skill. When you're engaged in meaningful work, distractions lose their power. Cultivate real relationships. Instead of shallow encounters, invest in deeper, more meaningful connections. Find a greater purpose, whether it's spirituality, career ambition, or personal excellence. Having a strong purpose keeps you from wasting energy on trivial pleasures. Those who master their desires don't become weaker. They become stronger, sharper, and more driven than ever before. In the final part of this series, we'll discuss the long-term benefits of self-discipline, the mindset shifts required to stay on this path, and how true fulfillment comes from mastering, not indulging your desires. Stay focused. The best is yet to come. The long-term benefits of mastering. Lust. By now, you understand how lust can control your mind, how society exploits your impulses, and how discipline is the key to breaking free. But what happens when you truly master your desires? What does life look like on the other side of temptation? This is where the real transformation begins. When you stop wasting energy on fleeting pleasures, you unlock your true potential, mentally, physically, and even spiritually. Let's explore the long-term rewards of overcoming lust. Lust clouds your judgment. It makes you impulsive, restless, and unable to concentrate on higher goals. When you free yourself from this distraction, your mental sharpness skyrockets. Your brain stops chasing instant gratification and learns to focus on long-term success. You make better decisions without lust distorting your thinking. You regain emotional stability, no longer swayed by temporary desires. People who master self-control often report feeling more present in their daily lives. Their creativity, problem-solving, and confidence improve drastically. Instead of wasting energy chasing pleasure, you channel it into ambition, purpose, and self-improvement. 2. Stronger relationships and emotional stability. Lust-driven relationships are often superficial. They lack true emotional depth, leading to emptiness and dissatisfaction. But when you take control of your desires, something changes. You build stronger, more meaningful connections based on respect, trust, and shared values. You develop self-respect, making you more attractive to others in a healthy way. You stop chasing validation through lust and start valuing deeper bonds. Many people who overcome lust addictions report feeling happier and more fulfilled in their relationships. Why? Because they are no longer controlled by short-term pleasure, but by long-term commitment and meaning. 3. Higher testosterone and physical strength. Science shows that self-control over lust can actually boost your physical performance. Studies suggest that abstaining from excessive indulgence can increase testosterone levels, leading to greater strength and endurance, higher energy and motivation, a more dominant, confident presence. Many athletes and successful individuals use abstinence or self-discipline to sharpen their focus and performance. When you control your urges, your body and mind operate at a higher level. You become stronger, faster, and more resilient in every area of life. 4. Mastery over yourself equals mastery over life. At the end of the day, self-discipline is the foundation of greatness. Every successful person, from ancient warriors to modern entrepreneurs, understood the power of controlling impulses. Marcus Aurelius mastered his desires and became one of Rome's greatest emperors. Nikola Tesla avoided distractions, dedicating his energy to groundbreaking inventions. Muhammad Ali used discipline and self-restraint to dominate the boxing world. When you master lust, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, you master life. But how do you maintain this mindset for the long run? In part 5, we will explore the final piece of the puzzle: how to stay disciplined for life and unlock ultimate freedom. So you've broken free from lust's grip. You've built discipline, improved your focus, and started experiencing real fulfillment. But the biggest challenge remains. How do you stay on this path for life? Self-control isn't something you do once, it's a lifelong discipline. Just like training your body, you must constantly train your mind and willpower to maintain self-mastery. Let's break down the key strategies for making this a permanent lifestyle. Develop an unbreakable mindset. To maintain self-discipline, you must create a bulletproof mindset. See lust for what it is, a distraction, not a source of true fulfillment. Remember your why. Focus on your purpose, goals, and long-term vision. Train your mind daily through meditation, reading, and constant self-reflection. People who succeed in self-mastery don't avoid temptation. They rise above it. They see beyond the short-term desire and focus on a greater purpose. One of the biggest mistakes people make is leaving empty space for temptation to creep back in. The best way to stay disciplined: stay productive. Set big goals that challenge and excite you. Pursue skills and passions that bring true satisfaction. Surround yourself with high-value people who push you to be better. A distracted mind falls back into bad habits. A focused mind stays strong. Avoid triggers and toxic environments. Your environment shapes your behavior. If you constantly expose yourself to temptations, toxic people, or negative influences, staying disciplined becomes 10 times harder. Cut out toxic media. Unfollow accounts that promote lust and shallow gratification. Avoid destructive relationships. Surround yourself with people who value self-control. Change your routine. Fill your time with meaningful activities rather than boredom scrolling. Your environment should support your discipline, not weaken it. Make self-discipline your identity. Most people fail at self-control because they see it as temporary. But the real secret? Make it part of who you are. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to quit," say, "I am disciplined. I don't let pleasure control me. I have complete mastery over myself." Your identity shapes your reality. When you see yourself as a disciplined person, your actions naturally align with it. Embrace the power of delayed gratification. Success in life comes down to one thing: choosing what you want most over what you want now. Short-term pleasure is easy, but long-term fulfillment is worth the sacrifice. Would you rather have a quick high or a lifetime of strength? Would you rather be a slave to desire or a master of your mind? The choice is yours. Conclusion: true freedom comes from discipline. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, but the truth? Real freedom comes from control. When you master your desires, you gain unshakable confidence. You achieve greater success. You build a life of purpose and power. But it all starts with one decision: to take control, to break free, to become the best version of yourself. This is not just about avoiding lust, it's about mastering life itself. The Sacrifice for Pleasure, Part 6. Pleasure has always been a double-edged sword. It offers temporary relief, a fleeting sense of euphoria, but beneath its surface lies a cost, one that is often overlooked until it is too late. Throughout history, the greatest men have not been those who indulged in every desire, but those who mastered them. True power lies not in satisfying urges, but in conquering them. The illusion of satisfaction. Modern society thrives on instant gratification. Everything is designed to deliver pleasure in the shortest possible time. Fast food, social media, entertainment, and most dangerously, sexual indulgence. The accessibility of pleasure has never been greater, yet neither has the level of dissatisfaction. The problem is simple. Pleasure without effort is meaningless. When something is easily attained, it loses value. When desires are indulged without restraint, they become addictions rather than rewards. The paradox of pleasure is that the more you chase it, the less satisfying it becomes. Consider the nature of lust. It promises excitement, passion, and fulfillment, yet for those who overindulge, it leads to emptiness. A man who constantly seeks sexual pleasure soon finds that no experience is enough. The intensity of the first thrill diminishes with every repetition. What was once exciting becomes mundane, and so he seeks more partners, more extremes, more stimulation, but instead of satisfaction, he finds numbness. This is the danger of unchecked pleasure. It does not lead to fulfillment, but rather to a cycle of increasing dissatisfaction. It is not the presence of pleasure that brings happiness, but the ability to control it. The weakening of willpower. Every indulgence has a cost, and that cost is often willpower. Each time you give in to an impulse, you reinforce the habit of submission. Your mind learns that it is acceptable to surrender to cravings rather than resist them. Over time, this weakens your discipline, making it harder to exert self-control in all areas of life. The man who cannot control his lust is the man who cannot control his destiny. He is at the mercy of his impulses, a slave to his desires. He may believe he is making choices, but in reality he is simply reacting to urges. True power comes from the ability to choose rather than be driven by compulsion. History is filled with examples of great men who fell because they could not master their desires. Kings, emperors, and warriors who built empires only to be undone by lust. Their stories serve as warnings. The strongest are not those who take everything they want, but those who deny themselves when necessary. The cost of excess lust does not exist in isolation. It seeps into every aspect of life, affecting motivation, relationships, and even physical health. Men who prioritize pleasure over purpose find themselves lacking energy for true achievement. Their time is spent chasing fleeting highs rather than building something meaningful. Mental fog, excessive indulgence in pleasure, especially through artificial means like pornography, dulls the mind. Studies have shown that compulsive consumption rewires the brain, reducing attention span and motivation. Lack of drive. The fire that pushes men to greatness is often smothered by overindulgence. When pleasure is easily accessible, the hunger for true success fades. Weakened relationships. Lust-based relationships lack depth. They are built on fleeting attraction rather than genuine connection. Over time, this leads to emotional detachment and loneliness. The strongest civilizations were built by men who prioritized discipline over desire. When a society values pleasure above all else, it begins to crumble. The decline of great empires has often been marked by the rise of hedonism and the fall of virtue. Reclaiming power through control. The path to mastery begins with a simple realization. Pleasure should serve you, not control you. This does not mean eliminating pleasure entirely. Rather, it means taking control of when and how it is experienced. True pleasure comes not from indulgence, but from earning it. A reward is only valuable when it has been worked for. Men who discipline their desires experience a different kind of satisfaction, one that is not dependent on external stimulation but arises from within. The ability to delay gratification is the foundation of all success. It is what separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain trapped in mediocrity. To reclaim power, one must first accept responsibility. Excuses, blaming external forces, and surrendering to impulse are signs of weakness. Strength is found in ownership, recognizing that every action is a choice. The path to mastery. Mastering lust requires more than willpower alone. It demands a shift in mindset, a reprogramming of the brain, and a dedication to higher values. The following principles form the foundation of self-mastery. 1. Control your environment. Temptation thrives in accessibility. Remove triggers and distractions that lead to indulgence. 2. Redirect your energy. Lust is raw energy. Instead of wasting it, channel it into meaningful pursuits, business, fitness, creativity. 3. Strengthen the mind. Discipline is built through mental training. Meditation, self-reflection, and education sharpen the will. 4. Surround yourself with strength. Weak company breeds weak habits. Seek out those who embody discipline and learn from them. 5. Redefine success. Society equates success with indulgence. True success is found in self-control, purpose, and lasting impact. Beyond pleasure, the ultimate fulfillment. When you master your desires, you unlock a new level of existence. You are no longer pulled by impulses but guided by purpose. Your actions become intentional, your mind becomes sharp, and your presence commands respect. The world belongs to those who can resist its temptations. The greatest rewards in life are reserved for those who sacrifice fleeting pleasure for lasting fulfillment. Those who choose the harder path, who embrace discipline, reject weakness, and dedicate themselves to something greater, are the ones who leave a legacy. In the end, the question is not whether pleasure is good or bad, but whether you control it or it controls you. The choice defines everything. Choose mastery, choose strength, choose greatness.